Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, historic funding for the Commonwealth to fight the opioid epidemic, how it's helping one group working to save lives. Plus, no funding for Ukraine is in the bipartisan bill that averted a government shutdown. We'll take a look at how the deal is leading to infighting among House Republicans.
Plus, we are tracking more dry weather in the short term. Those details coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Former President Donald Trump appeared in a New York courtroom today to defend his company's business practices. The civil suit accuses him and his company of fraud by inflating the value of the Trump Organization properties. The frontrunner for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination calls the lawsuit another attempt at election interference. CBS's Astrid Martinez reports from outside the courthouse in Manhattan.
We're going to be here for months with a judge that already made up his mind. It's ridiculous.
Former President Donald Trump slammed the civil lawsuit against him, his family, and his company as the trial got underway in a Manhattan courtroom Monday.
Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud.
New York Attorney General Letitia James brought the case, accusing Trump, his sons, and the Trump Organization of inflating the value of properties by hundreds of millions of dollars while pursuing favorable bank loans.
No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
But Trump and his lawyers argue the disclaimers made on the financial statements make clear the values listed are just estimates.
We have a clause in the contract. It's like a buyer beware clause. It says when you take a look at the financial statement, don't believe anything you read. This is up front.
This trial is one of the many legal headaches for the GOP presidential frontrunner who has been indicted 4 times since March. Trump maintains he has done nothing wrong and that all these cases are politically motivated.
If I weren't leading in all the polls or if I weren't running, I wouldn't have any of these cases. I wouldn't be seeing you this morning.
Prosecutors are seeking a ban on Trump doing business in New York and $250 million in penalties. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Last week, the judge in the case ruled Trump and the Trump Organization did commit fraud in their business dealings. If the ruling is upheld on appeal, it could force the business mogul to give up Trump Tower and other high-profile properties. The judge is now hearing from both sides regarding the 6 remaining claims. The non-jury trial is expected to last 3 months. The Supreme Court is declining to take up a case that argues former President Trump is ineligible to run again. The case was filed by a little-known Republican presidential candidate named John Anthony Castro. Castro points to the 14th Amendment, which he argues should disqualify Trump from serving in office because of what happened on January 6th. It bans office holders from future elections if they aid or engage in an insurrection. Congress has a little more than a month to find common ground on long-term funding that will keep the government open and running. President Biden is calling on lawmakers to move quickly, but the leaders have their work cut out for them on a range of issues. CBS's Skylar Henry has more on that from Capitol Hill.
President Biden is pressing Congress to reach a long-term funding deal. He's also adamant about getting more money to Ukraine in the country's war against Russia.
This is about freedom and democracy against Russia's invasion, aggression against the Ukrainian people. And this is also about protecting our national security as well.
Support for Ukraine remains a hot-button topic on Capitol Hill. The stopgap bill Congress passed over the weekend to keep the government open did not include the $300 million originally proposed to help Ukraine's war effort. Hardline conservatives who are calling for deeper spending cuts and oppose the funding say this comment from the president Sunday is fueling new questions for them.
Mr. President, are you going to be able to trust Speaker McCarthy when the next deal comes around?
We just made one about Ukraine. So we'll find out.
Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, among other Republicans, brought their concerns about that deal to the House floor after Speaker McCarthy turned to Democrats for help avoiding the government shutdown.
Working with the Democrats is a yellow brick road that has been paved by Speaker McCarthy, whether it was the debt limit deal, the CR, or now the secret deal on Ukraine.
Gaetz also said he plans to oust McCarthy from leadership this week.
I do not think it's good for the House. I do not think it's good for this institution. I do not think this is good for the country. We've got 45 days here to do our work, and someone wants to continue to string this out.
It's unclear whether a motion to remove McCarthy as Speaker has enough votes to pass. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
No speaker has ever been removed from office from a motion to vacate. It would take a simple majority of House votes, 218, when no seats are vacant, to remove the speaker. A settlement has been reached in the case of a crash that killed a bride on her wedding night in South Carolina. Authorities say 25-year-old Jamie Lee Komorowski drove her car into the newlywed couple's golf cart-style vehicle. The 34-year-old bride, Samantha Miller, was killed and 3 others were injured in the crash. The groom filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the reported drunk driver and multiple local establishments the driver had visited throughout the day. This week, Sam Bankman-Fried is set to stand trial for one of the biggest frauds in U.S. history. The 31-year-old has pleaded not guilty to 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. The charges stem from the collapse of his crypto trading platform, FTX. Prosecutors claim Bankman-Fried stole billions of dollars of customer funds for his own personal use. They say he also used that money to cover up losses from a crypto hedge fund he controlled. Well, do not panic when your smartphone lets out a loud screech on Wednesday. The federal government is planning a nationwide test of the emergency alert system at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time. The test will include wireless emergency alerts in addition to television and radio. You should also receive a text message telling you it is only a test. This will mark only the second time the federal government has sent the alert to mobile phones.
We are tracking dry and mild weather across the mountains into your Monday evening. Here's a live look right now from the WYMT studio. That current temperature 77 degrees under nothing but blue skies, so some fantastic weather does continue as we go into this evening. Those temperatures right now in the upper 70s and lower 80s, 82 for Jackson, up to 84 in Harlan, also Somerset. Check out Monticello, 86 degrees, up to 79 for Pikeville, also Clintwood at this hour. So we are above average on Monday, and that above average weather will continue into your Tuesday as well. Up on the radar, a clean sweep, all thanks to high pressure. As we zoom out, we have high pressure close to the Great Lakes, and that will continue as we go into early parts of this week. But some changes on the way as we get towards the rest of this week, especially by Thursday into Friday. As you can see, an increase in that muggy meter as moisture increases. Rain chances also going to increase by Friday, and then some cooler weather on the way by this weekend. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. More than 30 organizations were awarded tens of thousands of dollars today to fight Kentucky's opioid crisis. The announcement was made in front of an excited crowd at the Capitol this afternoon. Kelsey Soto talked to a group from Franklin County about what this money means to their cause.
There's not a corner or region of Kentucky that hasn't been touched by the opioid crisis.
I mean, that's what it's all about, is making sure that we get the money back to our communities.
Attorney General Daniel Cameron got to play Oprah today and hand out large sums of cash to different groups working to battle the drug epidemic.
It's just going to be huge for us adding staff. So being able to have a funding that can add to staff when you're very small nonprofits, it's huge to help us sustain and continue our work.
Meet the Franklin County Opioid Abatement Alliance, representing each and every facet of recovery, from food to housing, health, and even therapy.
It means that we can continue. It means that more importantly, it's generational. This is money that is renewable for years and years and years. And that's a game changer. That's a huge game changer. We're not living grant to grant. We're living throughout the entire distribution of these funds.
They tell me they've been meeting up since January, strategizing, coordinating, and coming up with game plans on how they can best serve the people who need them most.
I'm excited. I'm in recovery. I'm coming up on 10 years this December, and I just know that we're all in this, and we're just so happy to be able to help others in our community.
This money will go a long way, and they plan on stretching each and every dollar out. In Frankfort, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
Nearly $14 million was doled out today. It is a portion of the roughly $800 million secured by the Attorney General's office in settlements from companies who played a role in the opioid crisis. One Floyd County city is partnering with the county health department to save people with a drug problem. Several opioid rescue kits have been put into place in Prestonsburg. The idea is to keep Narcan readily available for folks who may need it. The kits consist of boxes of Narcan, an informational sheet on how to administer the nasal spray, and a graphic with potential signs of an overdose. We'll have much more about this in our next half hour. But coming up here on Mountain News at 5:30, interest rates are out of your control, but you can fight back by focusing on your own finances. Expert advice to help you start.
And we stay mild for now, but some cooler air is on the way, tracking some 40s after this break.